All right, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Back to the Blockbuster podcast. My name is Gaius Bowling, and I'm joined with who wants to go first?
Owen Erickson, joining the second episode of Back to the Blockbuster. Glad to be back. It's good to see you guys. A lot of stuff happened this week, so I can't wait to start talking about it. And our final member, we have the lovely.
And I'm Brittany. Welcome back. We have my lovely dog in the background. If you're watching this recording, she's making an appearance. I'm actually in St. Louis right now visiting my family. I had to attend a St. Louis Film Festival also while I'm here. So
you had to.
Yeah. What kind of things are they showing there right now?
It's 3 weeks long. So we had a film premiere Sunday night, and we have another one premiering on Friday. So
and do you sign an NDA? Is that why you're going around through these titles?
I just don't know if I want to talk about where I work exactly on the podcast.
Gotcha.
Mysterious.
Oh, good. Well, that sounds fun. I've always wanted to. I mean, the fact that it's 3 weeks long sounds like, there's probably a lot of different cool projects coming out, indie and all these other different kind of things. So can't wait till they actually drop so we can talk about it and your experiences in them.
Yeah. There are some pretty big movies dropping. So they'll be theatrically released as well. So they'll be open to the public soon.
Nice.
Well, I'm gonna give B Cats, that's her street name for all you guys that aren't aware. I'm gonna give her credit for not taking any PTO for the second episode. She is doing this all the way from Missouri while we're suffering.
Yeah. 2 hours later, I'm 2 hours ahead.
2 hours ahead.
That's my bedtime.
And she has her lovely dog in the video, which is perfect. So I'm all for it. So I'm kind of going to get right into a couple of things. I'm going to piggyback off some stuff that we mentioned last week, just to kind of as a quick kind of reminder. Because remember I mentioned how Eternals might take a steep fall this weekend. Mm-hmm. It didn't quite fall as hard as I thought. Like it did fall like 61%, which seems like big, but that's only like the fourth biggest MCU drop. And for a film that's as divisive as that one is, I actually think it held pretty well considering. Mm-hmm. And I also gotta give some props to Chloe Zhao. She's the first Asian American woman or female director to have a movie gross over $100 million. So however you might feel about the movie or how it turned out, I still think that's like a good kudos for her. I think there's another director as well, Jennifer Nielsen. She directed Kung Fu Panda. So there's two of them in that distinct league, and there's only two, but it's a cool club to be in. So I thought I'd give her props for her.
Congrats to Chloe. Chloe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Huge congrats to her.
Yeah, no matter how you feel about it, it's still a huge feat, and it's impressive for any female director to do that. But the fact that
she made the big man some money.
Yeah, she made them some money, and I think that's why Kevin Feige kind of supports her, and I don't think he's going to kind of turn his back on her when it comes to if they have to make a follow up. I think he's going to use her again and kind of maybe work out the kinks that didn't quite work. Maybe it was like a script issue, not so much a directing issue. I kind of think that she's kind of in this for the long haul. So congrats to her.
I guess you watch the like the box office and all those how much money everything's making. You're pretty close to that on a regular. So how seeing 61%, obviously Marvel might be in a different league, but how consistent is that with some of the other movies that we saw? I mean, I follow your page, so I kind of see a little bit on the daily as well.
Yeah. So for this year in particular, for like the summer like movies, like during the pandemic, like drop like that's not horrible. Like Fast 9 had a similar drop, so did Black Widow. The only one that kind of bucked that trend was Shang-Chi, but I had better word of mouth. And it, I think it was because it was so fresh and kind of new and like it was good and it got good reviews. I think that's why it kind of held a little better. But for the most part, like a lot of these big movies do kind of take a big fall. They kind of stabilize a little bit. Eternals is lucky this weekend because it had no competition. It was only competing against Clifford, the big red dog. And so like that
steep competition.
Steep competitions. That's Sadie's favorite movie, right?
Did she see it? She gave it 2 paws up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. 2 paws, 4 paws.
4 paws up. But I mean, speaking of big opening weekends, I mean, we saw Red Notice and how that was the biggest opening for Netflix.
Yeah,
And
I did get a chance to watch it today.
I watched it
Yeah.
as well. Who wants to go
What'd
first?
you say?
I want to go into this first before we talk about like the movie itself, because the bold statement that Netflix made was that it had the biggest opening day for a Netflix film in Netflix film history. Now that was said by Netflix and all 3 of its major stars,
And we don't know what that means.
without any data to back it up. There's no numbers to back it up. It's just we have to take their word for it. And it's like this all the time with every streaming service. I even read a thing on the Hollywood Reporter today that said, like, if you think you're going to get those numbers anytime soon, like, you're not. They are like well guarded for whatever reason. Wow. They want to keep their data kind of close to the vest. They don't want to share it. So I guess if they want to declare it as their biggest opening day ever, we have to just believe them.
And that's for a Netflix original.
Yeah, Netflix original movie, yeah. And the only thing that kind of gives us an indication is, like, I think I mentioned last week about Samba TV, which is like a third party like thing that kind of tracks your smart TV and what you're watching. It said that 4.2 million households watched it over the weekend, which is big. And it's not the whole picture, but it also doesn't tell us everything we need to know. So if they want to say it's their biggest opening day ever, I guess I'm not anyone that can tell them it's not. And I guess we just have to take their word for it.
I mean, we mentioned it yesterday or last week when we were talking about The Rock. He's going to sell tickets or streams. So if he's going to be on the headline of a new Netflix movie, Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, I mean, people are going to watch that regardless of what they've heard. And especially with Netflix, with the flux of just how many things are on there right now, when you see something new like that, I think people are going to jump on it immediately.
Especially, I don't think they've come out with a big like action adventure type movie recently. I think this was one of the first ones in a while they've released, and I think Netflix does a really good job with those. I are we gonna start? I think we should start talking about the movie because I have some thoughts.
Yeah, no, I definitely have a lot.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. It was entertaining, but it did follow the same formula of like the action adventure, Indiana Jones type, National Treasure type, that adventure type movie. I do think the last like 5-10 minutes were a little, they could have cut that out. But I think they were building it up to make it so that there could be a second.
Another one, yeah.
Oh, 100%. It follows the typical, it's a heist movie, and heist movies are all the rage nowadays. And if you weren't expecting a double cross, then you weren't watching the same movie that I was watching. I couldn't wait.
No.
And then they did it again and again. So I knew something was going to happen. It's just one of those things that
I couldn't tell who it was going to be though. I was like, is it Ryan or is it The Rock? Like, who's going to be the double crosser in this situation?
Yeah. So I think that there was some intrigue into who it was going to be. But as I was watching it, I could basically predict kind of everything that was going to happen. I think you hit it right on, Brittany. It's definitely entertaining. I enjoyed watching it, but there are some scenes I could have done without. The whole bullfighting thing I probably could have done without. The CGI bull was not my favorite. I thought that was.
You know what's funny about these movies? These movies always have like a ball scene or like where like the lead girl is dancing with like one of the lead men, and they're like,
like the
planning something while they're dancing. Like, why is that always the thing? Like, why are they always dancing around the room? These fancy dresses.
They're always at an arms dealer's house who's throwing something. They're always at like some person's house who's super rich, and they have to like, how did they even get in? Did they have tickets? There's no way they got into this event.
We have to go to this ball. I'm like, what?
And it's now.
It's ball have to do with you stealing an Easter egg or whatever.
And it's now. It's not in 7 months while I'm in
Cleopatra's
prison.
third egg or whatever.
Yeah, that was made up, right? That's not a real artifact.
I don't.
Fact check.
Real.
I don't know. You know what my issue? I mean, I was entertained, but my thought after it was over, I was entertained while I was watching it, but I won't remember it a week from now. Like, and for a movie that costs them $200 million to make,
wow,
I was trying to figure out where all that money went, and I guess all that money went to those three. I mean, there were some good action set pieces and stuff, but it wasn't like anything we haven't seen before. Like a lot of it was very by the book.
that yacht at the end.
I mean, maybe
That
that
probably cost him a little bit.
maybe that
I
was
think-
where a lot of money went to. But I'm pretty sure most of it went to their salaries. Like, I mean, they wanted 3 marquee stars to headline their movie, and they got it. I mean, like, The Rock is the biggest movie star out there right now, right? Ryan Reynolds, also a big movie star. I've been trying to figure out what to call Gal Gadot because she's not A-list yet, right? Like,
I think she is.
I think
like,
she's A-list.
She's A-list.
Wonder Woman,
is
she's
based on
A-list.
like one thing though, like just based on Wonder Woman.
No,
Right
I think she's A-list. She's been in a lot of like big movies. I feel like she was in that. She was in, what was that movie with John Hamm that she was in?
Oh, I forgot. I know what you're talking about.
It was like a comedy. It was cute.
Yeah. She was in the Fast and Furious movies before
She was in the Fast. Yeah, she was one of the characters in that.
I think she's been in some big budget movies. I would call her A-list. I mean,
well, I guess what they all have in common is that they're more known for their charisma and their charm more than
the Imagine video that she
and
made.
that. Yeah, she was in that too.
That was an Oscar winner right there.
Mhm.
But yeah, they're known more for how charismatic they are more than being actors, right? So we're being sold on them being movie stars, which is what they kind of sold this movie on. They sold it on the fact that these are 3 very popular people. You're gonna watch it no matter what we have them do.
And guess who Ryan Reynolds plays? Ryan Reynolds.
I was just gonna bring that up. The fact he plays the same character. He plays himself in every movie.
I did
Witty,
like how they
sarcastic.
I think they used it in a way when the thing that bothers me about the heist movies is that no matter what, at the very end it says, oh, there was a whole reason for all of this, which is kind of cool. Like let's just say when he's in the prison and he's yelling for that The Rock is a cop, only so we can get the key card.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's just playing into Ryan Reynolds, his personality in order to write a scene like that. So obviously they wrote this entire movie for, I thought The Rock's dialogue was a little bit bland, but I think they kind of wrote this movie for Ryan Reynolds, which
I felt that way too. I mean, but I guess that the Rock always if he's paired with someone like Ryan Reynolds or paired with someone like Kevin Hart, right? I guess he always has to play the straight man compared to his co-star who's more wacky. And I guess that's supposed to make it funny, right? Because he's the one has to react to his co-star being so over the top. But I didn't think it 100% worked here. And I know apparently they've been friends for 20 years and haven't really done something like this together. I think I was expecting their camaraderie to be a little tighter.
I agree.
But the director has worked with The Rock too.
Yeah, on such films as Skyscraper and Central Intelligence. So there you have it.
He knows his acting style.
Yeah, true.
I guess
it seemed like he watched Hitman's Bodyguard and said, I want to make that movie, but just a little bit different and a different person. It felt very similar to me in that, but I like that one better.
Yeah. What do we think about Gal Gadot as a villain? I guess not really I guess she was a villain, but not she wasn't a hero per se. She got to play a little bit against type.
I think she's beautiful. I think in anything she is, I think that they're really going to hone in on the fact that she is one of the prettiest people alive right now. So it doesn't really matter if she's the villain or not the villain. She was the main attraction of the movie.
I know why that made me laugh. It was I thought she was pretty.
I just think she's a beautiful person. I think she's gorgeous.
No, she's beautiful. I mean, and that role is sold on her sexuality, right? A little bit. And she played that up pretty well. And it was kind of cool to have her playing someone that wasn't trying to save the world or be a hero, which kind of gives me the impression that she can probably play really good villain roles down the line if she wanted to. If that's
her villain role seemed more she was obviously always one step ahead. I think that played into sort of the way that she could portray her character as a little bit cutesy and not as sort of direct and stern and villainous as, oh, I'm going to shoot you in the head. It was kind of oh, I'm kind of toying around with you guys.
She was smart.
I'm very smart and I can
character.
do it. But it also made me wonder, oh, how does she hack into the FBI and Interpol? How does she know how to do that? Is that something that she learned from her father, who was also a crook? I hated that. I hated when they said crook.
It did remind me of she reminded me a lot of Angelina Jolie in this movie. Especially the character in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, how you're not sure if they're a villain or not, but they're just a really smart way of attacking. I don't know. it reminded me a lot of, she seems to be following in Angelina Jolie's lead.
Yeah, it took me a while to warm up to her a little bit. I think by the time we got to the scene where it's Ryan Reynolds and The Rock and her, and she has a red dress, and they have that whole fight scene where they're trying to get the egg.
Yeah,
I thought she was really good in that scene, and I really thought she was really good in the scene where she was, I guess, well, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Red Notice, where she's torturing The Rock, but they're in on it together. But like when she starts singing the whole downtown thing where she has to electrocute his boys and all that stuff. I thought she was really good. Like by the time she got there, I thought she was really good.
See, Gais, when you say boys, Brittany, when you brought up that there's always a ball, I was thinking there's always a shot where someone gets hit in the balls, electrocuted in the balls. That's what my immediately first thought went to. No, Gala, but they're both true.
Yeah,
there's either ball torture or an actual ball where there's a tango.
Yeah, or both.
It's always the tango.
Always.
I thought she did a good job.
It's like True Lies. Like it reminded me of True Lies. And it's so funny because like The Rock is like, it's always kind of seemed like he was kind of following the career trajectory of Arnold Schwarzenegger anyway. Mm-hmm. So you might as well where you're doing the tango with a sexy lady, just like he did in True Lies.
Why do you think that movie works and this one doesn't? Is it? I thought that. I mean, for me, the big one was playing really into Ryan Reynolds' stereotype. The Rock had kind of a flat story, and then at the very end, it seemed like they were kind of scrambling to wrap it up, and they basically said, let's write 3 twists and call it a day and set it up for the next one.
So they can crank out.
Yeah.
I think it did work. I do think this was actually like, I would watch it again. Like, I thought it was really entertaining, and like watch it again. I thought it was good. I really like True Lies. So if we're comparing it to that, it doesn't work, but it was what it was. It was a Netflix original.
Yeah,
that was a fun movie to watch like on a Monday night.
Yeah, exactly. I think the exact same. And I'm trying to wonder too that it obviously did well, and I thought it was entertaining. I would watch True Lies because I thought it was a good movie and entertaining.
Right.
But
so like True Lies is actually smart. It's like well written, and I think that's the difference. Like it does play into all the like the action like movie tropes a little bit, but it's actually a very smart movie, and it kind of plays up Arnold Schwarzenegger's role as like an action hero, but then also he knows how to poke fun of himself as trying to be like a domestic husband at home. Like, oh, I have a boring job. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger's always been good at making fun of himself. So like I think they leaned into that a lot, and then you have the whole Jamie Lee Curtis thing where she's the mild-mannered like housewife, and then she thinks she's the one that's like supposed to be helping him by going undercover, and like it's like the twist in True Lies are like a lot better than like what we got in Red Notice. But True Lies came out like 94, so it was able to do a lot of that stuff first. But
yeah, I think what you're saying about comparing him to Arnold, like, I mean, even just like one of the first lines, they say, oh, you don't look like a private investigator. And he says, oh yeah, I get that a lot, because he's in even a few of his other movies. He plays like the anthropologist in Rampage. And they're like, you don't look like an anthropologist. They kind of play it where it's like, all right, let's get over the fact that he's an ex-WWE star and let's just move on with the story.
Out so much?
Yeah.
He's not the bodyguard.
They try to attack it early, and then they're like, let's move on.
You know what I was thinking about though? And this is the one thing I think he can't do yet. And if you could disagree with me, like let me know. I think he's a much more capable actor than people give him credit for. The one thing I can't buy him as is like a romantic lead. Like I don't buy like
I knew you were gonna say that.
Buy any romantic chemistry. So like when that twist happened with him and her, I was like, I don't buy it. I didn't really buy it in Skyscraper when he was married to Nev Campbell. I was like, you're treating her like she's your sister. I don't buy it. So like I never buy him
because it's usually Ryan Reynolds.
Well, but I usually don't buy. Like I mean, I'm sure The Rock could be good at it, but I don't see. I don't know if he just hasn't gotten the right direction on how to do that. But I just never buy it. I just never. He doesn't.
She's tall, so they looked good together. I'll tell you that. With the end scene, they looked pretty good together.
So you thought they had chemistry?
I actually thought that was one of my favorite parts, was when they actually were teamed up, because I didn't buy all the things that he did kind of before. I didn't buy that. Maybe that's obviously what they're trying to play into and me kind of hint at the twist, but I actually really did. I liked their chemistry at the end there.
All right. Maybe you see something in The Rock's romantic potential I don't. I'm still trying to find it. Like I'm like,
Owen, are you interested in The Rock?
He can do everything. We talked about it last week. Like he can do everything except that in my book. I don't know. I don't get the vibe that where he's trying to romance someone. I'm like, you're too big and hulking.
Do I see him in the next failure to launch? No.
No.
I don't see him in that, but I can see him being in. I mean, that's something that I'd be interested to see and how they would actually write for that.
The Rockets are legit romantic lead in like a romantic. Yeah. I mean, he tries to play it up in some other stuff too. I just don't. He's good at the like buddy stuff, and he's good at the like playing straight when someone else is playing like I'm wacky. I was just like when they did that whole twist with them, I was like, yeah, I don't buy it. I'm not saying I would have bought it more with Ryan Reynolds either, because Ryan Reynolds is goofy. So like I don't necessarily think I would buy it with him either. But I think Ryan Reynolds would have a better I would accept it better from him maybe. Like I think he's probably better at doing it or convincing me that he can be that way. But it's a little harder with Dwayne. I don't know. I don't see it
with Dwayne.
Well, speaking of romantic, another movie that came out this weekend was Taylor Swift's short film, her All Too Well music video.
Mm-hmm.
But it was 15 minutes. It was a short film. Wasn't just a music video.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you guys, before we even get into the fact that it's Taylor Swift, how do you guys feel about 15-minute music videos or like short films like that go with a song?
I've seen it twice. I thought it was great. I thought it was really well done. It's something that, I mean, when it comes to a music video, there's so many quick shots and quick cuts that you kind of have to make because you want to sort of get a lot of different. I mean, there's obviously every artist has their own different take to it. So there could just be maybe one long shot, but most of the ones that I see that are popular are a lot of quick cuts, a lot of different locations. And I think that having the ability to do it for 15 minutes and incorporate a song that has some serious length, but then and tells a story, I think that it's the perfect avenue for her to make her directorial debut. I thought it was really, really well done.
Yeah, I would it kind of reminded me of like how music videos kind of used to be made, because they used to be made as like, if you go back to like the 80s, like with Michael Jackson, like making like full-on movies basically, or short films for his music videos. No one's doing that anymore. And I thought it was kind of nice to see, Owen's girlfriend actually made us watch it at his house while we were getting ready for Friendsgiving. And my plan was to pay attention to it, because I was like, I wasn't in the mood to watch it. But once it got started, it was kind of hard not to watch it. Like it was visually very interesting. And even though that kind of story in the music video has been told kind of before, I still thought it was well executed and well acted by there's Dylan O'Brien, and who's the girl? It's Sadie, what's her last name?
Sadie Sink.
Yeah, I thought they were both very good.
Sink.
And as far as it being her directorial debut, I thought it was pretty well done. It's shot really well. Like it's a legit music video. There was just a lot I didn't know about that song in general. Like I didn't know who it was about, and we can get to that at some point after Brittany gives her 2 cents. I had no idea it's about a famous actor. Now it makes a lot more sense. Because like the night before, I was on Twitter and everyone was posting like all these memes and GIFs of Jake Gyllenhaal being upset about that. Like, he's gonna be upset in a few hours, man. I was like, what's he gonna be upset about? I have no idea. Like, what? And I thought I like missed the big like movie story.
About like, how could he ever show his face ever again?
I was like, what happened? What did he do? And then I was like, oh, this song's about him. And he really didn't show up to her 21st birthday. What a piece of shit. I had no idea.
I would just like to clear the air before we get into who it's about or who we allegedly think it's about.
Mm-hmm.
No one has ever, Taylor has never said specifically who the song is about. Yeah. So it's all speculation from her fans.
Yeah, she said.
So I just want to clear the air on that before we
told everyone
get
that
deep
it's not
into
about
it.
him.
She never said it is or it isn't. She just said, first of all, she released this album years ago, and
it's 10 years old.
It's like 8 years old. And I feel really lucky to grow up at a time where I'm almost the same age as Taylor Swift, where I can relate to these songs When I was 20 years old, I was dating a guy who's 25, and hearing this album fresh after a breakup around that same time, I could really relate to it. So hearing this album again, the way that she re-released it, especially with this music video, it felt a little bit different. It was almost like she was taking her power back. And this album, it was so vulnerable when it came out, almost like she was pleading for people to like believe her that these things happened. And now she's saying that it happened, and she's able to move on and move past it. These songs were written by a 21-year-old, and she's like 34 now. So I think that's really important to keep in mind, that she did an interview before the release where she released it in a theater, which is also, we'll get to that, but she released this in a theater in New York. And she said the song isn't about anyone in particular, but it's a song that people can relate to now. And it's an anthem for girls and for men too, I guess, if you can relate to something that she went through 10 years ago. But she did release it in a theater, and I think that does qualify her to possibly win an Academy Award for this.
Well, let her get nominated first, girl. Calm down.
Yeah.
You're already lobbing the win. You're lobbing the win to her.
Yeah.
I mean, for a short film, those aren't like big awards anyway, but it's still an award.
The ones that they like kind of like brush under the rug. But if they actually had her nominated, I don't think they would brush that category under the rug. They would want to make it a big deal.
I think people thought Beyonce was gonna. I think Beyonce was. Everyone thought she would be nominated for an Oscar for her album.
For her album, or for
short. She did for Lemonade.
She made a short film as well.
Okay.
She didn't direct it though.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it would be. I mean, for the short film, is that an Oscar for everyone who participates in it? I think. I mean, she had her own cinematographer, director of photography. So would she basically win it because she directed it, or would it be sort of just the film as a whole would kind of win?
The film as a whole.
Okay. So would she get one though because she directed it?
Yeah, I mean, if she directed it and if she wrote the concept for it, then I would imagine. I mean, I'm sure maybe they might give like one or two to some other people who worked on it, but if she wrote the concept and directed it, I think that would go to her.
Yeah, I was reading today.
More fuel to her fire, man, because it's like no stopping her at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading today. I was reading an interview with Dylan O'Brien, and he was just kind of talking about how basically got a call from his manager saying, "Yo, Taylor Swift wants to talk to you," and he goes, "Wait, what?" Because apparently she had in her mind Sadie Sink and Dylan O'Brien. She says, when I was coming up with this idea, those were the only two people that she could see doing it. I mean. And I think that they're really good friends in real life too. So obviously, and Sadie Sink's she's younger too. So I think she's a huge Taylor Swift fan. And basically Dylan said, yeah, if I didn't do this, first of all, yes, but if I didn't do it, Sadie would absolutely kill me. But apparently I was reading too that he said that there was a lot of improvisation that kind of went on during the filming. Just kind of, she kind of set the scene, but they were able to play around with sort of these characters that she had created. And I think that's unbelievable, the fact that they had this chemistry in order. And that's the reason that it was so moving and powerful. I mean, I thought it was really good. So I couldn't imagine at this point any other character or any other actors being in that. And
the reception to it has been pretty positive. I will say I went on Twitter today kind of to see what people were saying about it. It's really positive, but I did get a few people, one guy I follow in particular, that was like, yeah, it's good, but I swear these Swifties have only seen one short film. Like, it's not like groundbreaking. It's good, but like, it's not the second coming of Jesus. Like, calm down.
It's the first time she's directed anything. And I think that's just an incredible opportunity for a woman to direct her own music video or short film. And I think we need to give props where props are due. I mean, especially they filmed this during COVID. They kept this under wraps. Like, I can't believe this was never revealed until like last week when the news finally broke.
Yeah.
I mean, no one slipped it out.
Doesn't get leaked. Like, I'm like, we got that. No, I didn't even know.
It's probably because of COVID. Like, it's a limited amount of people that are probably on set.
You know, she's calling on all of her friends. Like I heard the music video they released today. It's like Miles Teller's in it, and Blake Lively directed it. So she,
Blake Lively directed it.
So she like is calling out. I mean, I've never been a Taylor Swift hater at all. Like even when people would complain about it, like, oh, she always writes about like the people she dated and broke up with. You know, a lot of people, everyone does that.
Joni Mitchell did too.
People make a big deal out of it because she's pretty much she's a girl.
That's what John Mayer does.
John Mayer does all the time.
It's the exact same as John Mayer.
Justin Timberlake
or Drake.
Like Drake.
Yeah, Drake is a spitting image, except different genre.
Like, yeah, so like whatever, you know, I have a lot of respect for her as an artist, and like I also respect the fact that she's going back and re-recording all of her old stuff to kind of claim all of her stuff back again, because this is her music, it's her baby, her catalog. You know, this was advice that Kelly Clarkson gave to her, said that she would re-record like all of her stuff, but a little bit different, so she can have ownership of her stuff again. And like I give her a lot. I mean, probably helped that, you know, a lot of this was happening while we were locked down. She had a lot of time to like do this, but like I think it's cool for her, and then for her fans who are clearly don't care that they have previous editions of these albums already. They're still going to get them.
I had such an amazing response. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but it was number one on Spotify and Apple Music when it dropped. So obviously there's no.
I think she has the top two. I think she has
most streamed female artists on Spotify.
Folklore was like the second most streamed, and that's her too. But also what's interesting about this whole Jake Gyllenhaal of it all and the Blake Lively thing is that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are obviously married. Ryan Reynolds is friends with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
And Blake Lively directed this most recent video. It's just like this universe is like, what do they know that we don't? I'm just curious.
Isn't that Hollywood though? Aren't all like, isn't that just Hollywood? Like all those famous people are kind of friends.
They just don't talk about it. They're probably like, you know, whatever happened with you and her, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and Jake's probably getting
like you said, she made the song like a long time ago, and I mean, it's just in the headlines again because she made this 10-minute version of it. Yeah. I will say I like what she said, that someone on Extra asked her who is the song about, like directly, like at the premiere for the video, and she gave the most diplomatic answer. She said, you know, how many ever years ago this song was for me, but now like this song is for all my friends, and like, you know, it's all of ours now. It's not about like someone I wrote it for. It's about like what it means to them. So, I mean, it was a clever way to get out of it, because she's not going to.
And that was the end of the music video, or I'm sorry, short film, when she's reading the book that she wrote called All Too Well. And she's like everyone's like favorite person at the end, because everyone is listening to her story and can relate to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, of course, everyone's gonna like dig into like, well, is it about Jake Gyllenhaal and that scarf she left at the sister's house? Is that Maggie Gyllenhaal? That makes sense. You know, they all want to put the pieces together, and like I kind of want to too. I'm like, I know it's old news, but I'm like, what did he do? Did he just like?
It's fun, and she was on Jimmy Fallon talking about all the Easter eggs that she likes to leave, and now it's like a game for her and her fans to leave behind Easter eggs for them to figure out. And I mean, it's like our own action heist movie. It's like we're trying to figure out what all these pieces, we're trying to find national treasure here with Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I think it just opens up a lot of new avenues just too, because she's obviously incredibly talented. She wouldn't have become famous if she wasn't, but she's not just a one-trick pony when it comes to music. She definitely has an eye. I think that the fact that she wanted to film it on a specific camera, the 8mm, is that what it was? Or,
35.
Yeah,
35.
Yeah.
I just thought it opens up a lot of new creative avenues to be successful from these other artists that do a lot of different things, and hopefully it just doesn't slow down. Hopefully we get more from a lot of other artists.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt that she has like a lot of Hollywood connections. I mean, like she was able to kind of, like you said, like getting a call from like Dylan Bryan, getting a call from his manager, like, do you want to do this? Like, can't say no.
And even he's starstruck. Like he's starstruck that Taylor Swift is calling him.
But yeah, you know, whether or not it's about Jake Gyllenhaal or not, it's a good thing for her. It's a good look for her, and people seem to really like it. And I mean, we'll pay attention to if it gets any kind of awards attention down the line. It'll be really interesting. I know they would probably want it to, because it'd be even a little bit of ratings help for the Oscars if they could nominate.
Yeah.
her. because I'm sure that would make her fans want to watch, and then they would especially love if she won something like that. So we would have to see, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine just being able to say Academy Award nominee or winner Taylor Swift?
I mean, she's going for that EGOT.
She's going for that EGOT.
I mean, Eminem did it. Eminem won an Oscar, but that was
if she wants to win an Oscar, though, she has to do it better than doing stuff like Cats, or she was in that.
Valentine's Day.
So Valentine's Day. She needs. But I mean, even if we're speaking of singers, I mean, Gaga looks amazing in House of Gucci. I saw like another trailer today, and it looks so good. She is definitely not a one-trick pony.
No, not at all.
Oh yeah, she's gonna get that EGOT for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah, she deserves it. I mean, she's worked hard for it, and and like someone like Lady Gaga, she started out as wanting to be an actress before she even got into music.
I didn't know that.
That was like her first love. So like the fact that she gets to do it now, and her first movie out the gate, she gets nominated for an Oscar. Her second movie, she gets to work with Ridley Scott, and she might get nominated for another Oscar.
Yeah,
like this is like I feel like she's someone that will choose all her roles very wisely.
Yeah,
I don't think she'll jump into anything.
No,
I do want to circle back to Jake Gyllenhaal a little bit because he's the kind of actor that strikes me as someone that usually not always does serious movies, but I'm surprised when he tries to do he does stuff that's like kind of fun. And like last week they announced that he is like very much like close to signing on for the remake of Roadhouse. Roadhouse is a movie that was released in 1989 with Patrick Swayze. That is a big hit with, especially a lot of dudes. A lot of guys love Roadhouse because it is the typical like 80s action movie. Even though it came out in the late 80s, it has all the tropes that you want from an action movie during that time period. And it is Patrick Swayze at one of his very best.
Wasn't there drama on that set?
What?
I feel like there was. I remember hearing stories. I've never seen the movie, but I remember hearing stories about there being like drama with him on set.
I wouldn't be surprised because God rest his soul, won't talk ill of the dead. But I've heard that a lot. About the stuff that he's worked on.
He was a very method actor. I think
I know that Jennifer,
really intense.
They did Dirty Dancing. She also had issues with him, but it turned into good chemistry, I guess.
I think they dated.
Yeah, so like it's he kind of had that rep, but Roadhouse was a big hit in the 80s. They tried to remake. They were trying to remake this for a while. Like Ronda Rousey was attached to it, and that was when she was like really big. Like she was like big in like MMA and all that.
When she did the Entourage movie,
and then she was like in the third Expendables, and then she was in Furious 7. Like that's when they were trying to like capitalize on her. Like, oh, we can make her a movie star, but that. She got a lot of, when it became public that she was thinking of doing it, she got a lot of flack online because they were like, we didn't want a girl in Roadhouse, but they wanted a guy. But Jake Gyllenhaal's not getting like a ton of positive feedback for wanting to do this either, because it is a sacred movie for a lot of dudes who love 80s movies. And they don't think he's the right choice either to take on that role at all.
I don't think there's any perfect choice to replace Patrick Swayze. I think he used such a, I learned the other day that he wrote and sang the main song from Dirty Dancing.
Like the wind song.
Like he literally,
he's like the wind.
Yeah, like he literally is.
I won't sing on the podcast. Don't worry, guys.
He did like.
I was like, how much can we sing and not get dinged for it?
I was listening to an interview with it was Rob Lowe, and he said that he's heard so many crazy things about Patrick Swayze, like, oh, he was a physicist or got his PhD in certain things. And he said that all of them sound fake, and he didn't look all of them up, but every single one that he has looked up has turned out to be true. So it just, and apparently because they worked on the movie, The Outsiders.
Outsiders is great.
And so he said that he would wake up and they would drive to set, and he said, oh, Patrick, what you been up to? He's like, oh, I was just doing like taekwondo all night. Like he just didn't sleep. Like he slept maybe like an hour and a half a night, and he just got so much done, had infinite hobbies, and was basically trying to perfect his craft.
I mean, like, I think it'd be hard to replace him in that movie in particular. Like, I can't think of anyone. I guess my thing is there's no need to remake it. I mean, they're going to do it anyway.
I agree.
But I don't think there's any need to remake it. The only thing that has me intrigued is like Jake Gyllenhaal being interested in it, because there's like, it seems like there's like Prisoners and Nightcrawler Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
And there's like Spider-Man Far From Home and like Ambulance, which is a movie he's doing with Michael Bay. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Mhm.
Like the guy who like kind of wants to make like really good, like I want to win an Oscar one day.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal, and then I just want to have fun. And like it's kind of like interesting to have them both kind of be in the same person, because like I can't see him being all that interesting in wanting to remake Roadhouse, but maybe like it might be one of his favorite movies. Who knows? But like I'm intrigued because he's interested, and also Doug Liman's attached to direct it, and Doug Liman directed Swingers and Mr. and Mrs. Smith and the first and the Born Identity. So he's a good director of action and all that. I just don't think it's necessary to remake it. Like I just don't know how these people go into these meetings and they're just like, what can we like? What IP can we like? Milk, and they said that for that studio, that IP is very important to them. Like they already like have, even though Jake Gyllenhaal's really busy right now, some stuff they already sent feelers out to writers that they want to write this. It's a priority for them. Like they really want to get it out. I just don't really see the necessity to do it. And
there's so many remakes out there nowadays. I don't
like remaking Point Break. I mean, like there's certain movies that are like of their time, right? Like I didn't like the Point Break remake at all.
Why don't they just to me it doesn't make sense to remake the same movie. Why don't they just make another movie similar, just like how we just were talking about Red Notice, how it's a similar genre of that movie? Why don't they just make a similar movie of that same cadence, follow the same formula, and just call it something else, and then we can compare it to the
Roadhouse.
same movie. Yeah, to
I think
Roadhouse.
I think it's probably because it says Roadhouse on the billboard and people are going to go buy a ticket for it. And if you just make sort of a new idea, people might not know what it really is. But I agree with you. I think it's pointless to kind of pull these. I think it's lazy. I really do. Even if even if they come back and make a good one, I'm trying to think of an action sequel. I mean, I almost clicked on the Total Recall remake with Colin, and it's so bad. I remember not liking it so much the first time I saw it. I was like, I definitely don't want to see that again. So I mean, I'm trying to think
women get so much hate for like remaking men's movies, like
Ghostbusters.
Oh my gosh, Ghostbusters, or like Ocean's 8, and like like no one wants to see it if it's an all-female cast, like it's a woman's spin on it, which I actually find more interesting than remaking it completely. I think remaking it with a whole different cast, it's like the Wonder Years being remade as a African American side of the story. It just adds a whole different element to it, whereas a completely remake, like copy and paste another white dude playing this role, like it's the same thing.
I don't mind remakes if they're good. Like with Ocean's 8, I was all for it. Like if it's good.
Ocean's 8 was different because it was kind of a spin-off.
Yeah,
like Sandra Bullock was George Clooney's sister.
Yeah, and I didn't mind Ghostbusters.
I forgot about that. I completely forgot she was the sister.
Yeah, they kind of just throw it in. I mean, they needed some kind of connection. When with that movie in particular, I thought they were trying to connect them because like I figured like eventually if they wanted to, they would combine the two.
In Ocean's 21,
they all live in the same world. Yeah,
like an Avengers Endgame kind of Ocean's movie with like.
I'd be down for that. I love the Ocean series.
It probably costs more than Red Notice to make, but like I'd be all for it.
I'm just trying to think like how you get away with you have 21 people on the same team and they're all playing a different part. Like,
oh my gosh, can you imagine the budget for that?
It'd be
Rihanna,
like
Sandra Bullock, Kate Blanchett, Brad Pitt.
No way.
Matt Damon, George
no
Clooney,
way you're making that movie.
Julia Roberts. Oh my god.
Rihanna, she's not.
That movie is like $400 million.
The studio's bankrupt when you bring the idea up in the boardroom.
And then some of those actors like probably guarantee like a certain amount of screen time in their like contracts.
They're gonna be filming that in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
In the spirit of talking about remakes and stuff, there's another one that they're doing, but they're doing it as a series, which I think could work if they do it right. Paramount Plus picked up an adaptation of Fatal Attraction straight to series, and they cast Lizzy Caplan in the lead. She was from Mean Girls, Master of Sex. Like she's very good actress. Fatal Attraction, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's a very even today. I think the last time I watched it was over a year ago, and it holds up pretty well. It's a really well made psychological thriller. I do have issues with the ending, and I know like a lot of people that made the movie have issues with how it ended because it turns into more of like a routine, like by the numbers, almost slasher movie in the end.
Yeah.
After the whole
Glenn Close originally stars for
Glenn Close originally
our
stars in
audience.
it, and like basically
National treasure.
for those that don't know, the movie, Michael Douglas has a weekend affair with Glenn Close's character. He wants to end it, call it off. She becomes very obsessed with him. He begins to stalk him and his family. There's some boiling bunny rabbit in it because she gets so pissed off.
And then he
it's a cautionary tale about why you probably shouldn't cheat on your spouse.
Yeah, but then it becomes more into like, oh, I'm not worried that I had an affair anymore. They all know that. Now I'm just worried to stay alive. I just want to make sure that my family can.
That's why it's interesting about the movie in general, because the movie does play pretty well as like a psychological thriller, especially involving her character. Like
I love the movie.
You're supposed to like kind of not really view her as the villain, really, like because she has a screw loose, but like this guy, played a role in her having said screw loose, at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
And the original ending of that, spoiler alert, sorry. She was supposed to kill herself in the original ending. And she was gonna frame him for it, and he gets arrested. And then his wife ends up finding like a cassette tape where it's revealed that like she framed him for it, and he gets off. They screened that for audiences, and they're like, no, it was too like soft. They wanted validation. They wanted to see her die, and they wanted to see like, they wanted to know that family would be happy in the end, even though he cheated on his wife. They wanted more of a clean cut ending, which is why they changed it to the psycho stabby ending that it turned into. I'm curious what it was going to be like as a series. I don't know if Lizzy Caplan's playing Glenn Close's part. I'm assuming that's what she got cast at, but it would be interesting to kind of watch that develop as a show rather than one movie, because you would have the time to stay with her and watch whatever her unbalances are, kind of watch them develop rather than having just a movie where you're like, oh, this girl's crazy. Like you'll get to know exactly what's going on in her head.
I think this is a new trend that's starting to happen. Like they did High Fidelity with
Zoe
Kravitz. Thank you. And that was a really good show. I really like this trend that's happening where they're remaking really classic cult classics into TV shows. I think it's interesting. You kind of get a little bit deeper into each character.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of go on what we were saying before, of kind of get around this isn't a remake. This is basically, we're going to dive deeper into the story, get a little bit more information from these characters, a little bit more backstory, and be able to kind of take a different viewpoint to it. But the way I kind of perceived it when I read the news for that was, I thought of it as kind of this is going to not turn into, but this is kind of playing off you was really successful. And now we want to be able to follow these characters that are not necessarily good people, but we follow the characters that maybe have something that's a little unhinged, do bad things, but they are the antagonist. And then I started to think, what was the first one that did that? Was The Sopranos the first one that kind of followed like really bad people? Because obviously Dexter and Breaking Bad are kind of similar to, they're following this killer or following someone who's not really doing good things. I was wondering, because then You does it, and You has been insanely popular. Now Fatal Attraction, I'm not sure what take they're going to do for it, but I was wondering what you guys thought was the first sort of pinpoint of, hey, we're going to start following not really the good guy.
I guess like the most successful example is The Sopranos. I don't know if it's like necessarily the first, but you're following these people who are like, I mean, you have to like them on some level, right? Because you're gonna hopefully spend, if your show's successful, like 5-6 seasons with them. So they have to be likable, but then they also have to be deeply flawed. And like, I mean, that's more interesting to watch to me than someone who is so by the book and like so good. I mean, you can have like good people on shows and like still root for them, but like since we're all flawed human beings in general, like it's more entertaining to watch someone who isn't 100% good. And
yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole protagonist trope in a movie. The protagonist is someone that you aren't sure if you're supposed to be rooting for or not. I hate to bring up Sex in the City again, but Carrie from Sex in the City, you want to root for her because she's the main character. You want to root for her in her relationship, but she's a shitty person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like that for like, I mean, a lot of shows where you have like people who are supposed to be like, it can be as extreme as like Sopranos and Dexter. Like, you're not.
I'm trying to think of a movie that does this really well, and I'm blanking.
I'm trying to think of one too. I'm seeing a lot of it in TV shows, like because I just thought about like How to Get Away with Murder. Like Viola Davis' character is like crazy flawed. Like she's not a good person. But,
Oh yeah.
but like you like were like 100% all in on her development just because it's just more interesting to watch.
I think Nightcrawler's like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in what the Fatal Attraction take will be because it goes back to what Glenn Close wanted, which is why she wanted that original ending. Like
when I googled it, Wolf of Wall Street came up.
Oh, came up. Yeah, that's a good example, actually.
I think that's a good one.
He's not like a good person either, but you're still like kind of
people love that guy. What's his name?
Yeah.
The
Jordan
whatever.
Belfort.
Yeah, people like the whole barstool type of dude loves
mentality.
Jordan yeah, they like worship this guy who like stole a bunch of money from people and like cheated on his wives. Like he was not a good person.
Well, here's what I hope
this movie glorifies him.
I hope this doesn't happen with Fatal Attraction, and I'm assuming if it's well written, it won't, but it's also the internet, and it probably will. Just if you have a female lead where like she is kind of like the crazy unhinged one, I just hope that like I hope that she'll get a similar reception that like Penn Badgley gets for You, because no one really looks at him on that show and goes like, "Oh, that guy's crazy."
Yeah,
fact, it's a lot of attention from women for like who have said blatantly on Twitter, like, "I would let Joe kidnap me. I would do this."
Yeah,
like they don't
like
talk
the whole
about
Ted Bundy thing.
They do.
Yeah,
they say that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, yeah. Oh, like especially when the show first
God.
started, like Penn Badgley actually went on Twitter and was like, "I can't. Like, you guys need to stop. Like, he's not a good person. The fact that you want to be kidnapped by him and held hostage is not normal. Like, please, no."
I think the one that
I'm not into it.
I think the one we could compare it to is maybe something like Nurse Jackie, because that was a female role and she was incredibly deeply flawed and did a lot of things like stealing from her own hospital and everything. So I think that maybe it could be something similar to that, where, I mean, we are rooting for a character, but she does have some, and she didn't get, I don't think she, I mean, it was a very successful show. I don't think she got any sort of backlash for being the crazy woman on the TV show. I think that was a huge success, and
it was a pretty
inspired house. So
yeah, it was a pretty successful show, and I don't think she got like. I mean, I wonder if it's different if the girl is playing someone who's stalker crazy, rather than
what if they reverse the role for Lizzy and she has like a stalker guy?
Interesting.
Will that make it too similar to You though? If they have like, if they do that.
You is different in the fact that he's just already a stalker and he's already stalked people, but I think
he's kind of more secretive about it.
Yeah, but I think that, I mean, Fatal Attraction, like the stalking becomes of this one instance. It's not that, oh, I'm just a crazy dude.
Right. Oh, and talk about the differences between IP and fans. Like the Roadhouse thing got a lot of like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? The Fatal Attraction thing, not so much. Even though Fatal Attraction is a hugely successful movie, like it was made for $14 million. It made over $330 million worldwide in 87. It was number one for 8 weeks in a row in 87. And it was nominated for Best Picture and like 4 other Oscars. But like people were pretty like, okay with like, yeah, okay, I'm cool with, you can redo Fatal Attraction.
Do you think that's because it's a series?
Like, differences in between like people, like fandom when it comes to certain like IPs. There are certain ones you can touch. And there's certain ones that are like, oh no, please don't mess with it because it's sacred. You know, you kind of see that with like Ghostbusters and like, you know, all, like Back to the Future, which like, you know, the guys who made Back to the Future said they'll, as long as they're all alive, no one will remake it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but
I hope they don't.
Yeah, I hope they don't either. But you know, it's just funny, like certain, like how certain IPs are sacred, you can't touch them, but others there's a little leeway to, like, yeah, I can see, like, do a fresh spin on it. Like, let's see what you can do with it.
I think it could be the fact that it's a series and not just a strict movie remake.
I agree.
Yeah, that could be it too. And you know, like you know, you said earlier, there's a lot of opportunity to develop the characters over. I'm assuming it'd be like 10 episodes because it's a streaming show. Like,
I also
maybe there'll be some backstory on the characters and why they are the way that they are. I think Lizzy Caplan's gonna kill it. I think she's great. I think she can really hone in on this role and do an amazing job. I'm curious who they are gonna get to play opposite her.
I am too.
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to talk Glenn Close too, though. I mean, I mean, I guess the point.
I wonder how Glenn Close feels about this.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how because they so far they haven't said anything like Michael Douglas or Glenn Close. You know, even though Glenn Close has been nominated for several Oscars and all that, like, you know, that role is still something that she's greatly defined by. Like, there's a lot of people think Glenn Close. It's weird to say they think of Fatal Attraction, and depending on how old you are, they might think of 101 Dalmatians. It just depends on who you.
Fatal Attraction was the first movie I ever saw Glenn Close in,
and she owns that role. Like, she's so good in it. It's gonna be a tough act to follow, but like Lizzy Cobb is a great actress, so I think she'll.
Have they had talks about who they might cast alongside her?
Not yet. They've only talked about casting her, and they already ordered it straight to series. So they probably.
Do you know what? Oh, you said Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus, yeah. And they've been trying to develop this for a while. I guess they were trying to develop it at CBS, like the network. And
gosh,
like you couldn't do what you need to do at CBS.
Mm-hmm. Does Paramount Plus have sort of the same? I mean, I know HBO kind of gets a lot of the. I guess it's a little bit different now, but HBO was kind of always considered you can kind of do whatever you want on HBO and show whatever you want. And so does every streaming service kind of have that now? I mean, I think I don't see as much sort of TVMA stuff on Netflix or Hulu. I see most of it as HBO. I was wondering if Paramount Plus kind of is able to take on that role.
I'm assuming they did, because when they were briefly talking about bringing they had that Clarice show on CBS, which was like a spinoff of like Silence of the Lambs, and CBS was canceling it, but Paramount Plus was interested in picking it up because same company, it's like Viacom, CBS, so they were going to pick it up, and the appeal of picking it up was that it could be darker and they could actually show and do a lot more. The only reason they didn't pick it up because there was issues with like licensing and international deals, and like it was all a money thing. That's why they didn't pick it up. But that was the hope. If they did pick it up, they could be a lot darker and a lot. They could do more on there. I'm
so happy that they've switched into doing that kind of stuff now, and just because the simple fact that you have to physically choose it yourself rather than it's just on TV. Yeah. Like, it's on primetime TV, and my kids could turn on the TV and watch it, so we can't really do anything, or not anything, but we can't. There's certain boundaries you can't cross. I think it's nice to have that option where if you want to watch something a little darker, it's always going to be out there now.
Yeah. And you know what boundaries you can't cross either is telling Patty Jenkins that she's too busy to do your Star Wars movie. So I need to preface this with like, this is like speculation, but the guy, Matthew Baloney, who like, he used to work for the Hollywood Reporter, but he has like a blog where he gets like a lot of like insider stuff and writes about it. And I would say like 95% of the time he's right. And he wrote a story today basically saying like she's too busy to do the Rogue Squadron Star Wars movie. That announcement came out last week that they're delaying it, taking it off the calendar. It was because she was too busy prepping Wonder Woman 3 and Cleopatra. They basically said that's all bull. Like, the biggest issue is that she's having creative differences with the Star Wars producers, and the main person in general is the head of Lucasfilm is Kathleen Kennedy. And Kathleen Kennedy has been the source of a lot of creative differences for people who have come in to do Star Wars. This is not the first time that this has been an issue.
She's the head of Disney.
So this has happened before, and I'm not surprised because while they say they want to make Star Wars like progressive and do new things, like a lot of I think especially with the movies, at least, it hasn't really happened with the shows, like, because they have other people running that. But with the movies, they tend to play it safe. I remember when they had Phil Lord and Chris Miller directing the Solo movie. Like, these were the guys who did like the Lego movie, and like really smart, like really like creative people. That it would have been cool to have them direct it. And then like 4 weeks into the filming, they were let go because of creative differences. And Colin Trevor, he's going to write he's going to write what became The Rise of Skywalker, and then he was replaced by J.J. Abrams on that because of creative differences. There are a lot of creative differences when it comes to Star Wars, because it's a machine, and I know it's a lot of money to be made, but like, I think they need to just let these people be creative and let them kind of flex their muscles a little bit and like take more chances. That's just my opinion on that.
As we know,
I'm curious what the creative differences are. Like, I would love to be a fly on the wall and maybe do a public poll what people want to see.
Yeah. See what get some gossip stirring.
I always wonder what the creative differences are with Star Wars, because like it's such an immersive world, right? Or universe. Like there's so much you can do with it. And I'm just wondering like what all these producers, like, who aren't writers, they're not writers, they're not directors, they are the money people. I get it, but like they're not creatives. So like to have them step in and be like, this doesn't work. And like, you see this happen with studios all the time. It happens with like Warner Brothers, with DC stuff. It happens a lot. It's not just just a Star Wars thing, but like it happens like fairly often where like producers will step in and be like, no, this is not, I don't want to, we're not doing it.
My first thought is that it's probably because they look at the director and say, well, you know what, we're spending $350 million to make sure that this movie is successful, and you're basically going to follow what we say, because we're not gonna. And also, they don't want Star Wars to flop. They want to make sure that franchise is continuing. They have this loyal fan base that we've talked about before that's expecting certain things, expecting certain shots, certain everything. And
special guest, what's up, buddy?
My cat just walked right into the frame. I think that basically it's just they want to make sure that they're making money, and they're going to be dropping so much on CGI, and that's why I wondered why it could be a creative difference, because you can kind of do whatever you want, and that's in that sense.
It seems like it'd be more like story related. Maybe there's directions that she wants to make kind of big pivots and big moves that they're too afraid to make. I always assume that Star Wars, the people behind it, are just too afraid to make big moves. Now it's weird because they let Rian Johnson do, it seemed like, whatever he wanted on The Last Jedi. They let him make a lot of stuff that pissed off fans. And I mean, I guess that could be why they could be hesitant.
Yeah, maybe they're learning from their past experience of letting them have too much control, and now they're kind of bringing the hammer down a little bit more on Patty.
And they were saying that some of these people's agents and stuff are like, we don't like, it should be a blessing to get a Star Wars movie, but then
not a curse.
But then like you get it, and they're like, here is how restricted you are. This is what you can and can't do. Like, I mean, you realize this. I guess you should know it's a machine, but I guess you don't really realize it until you're in it, trying to like develop.
It can't be that bad. It can't. But I mean, if 4 people have left for different creative differences, I'd be hesitant to even start.
But I wanted to give her like credit though, because there was a lot of people being like, "Oh, she's too busy. Like she's too busy," and it just turns out that like she's having allegedly, creative differences with the producer.
And that would make her busy though. That would add to her being busy. Because if things were going smoothly with this creative process, then she wouldn't probably have this much shit going on that she can't control. But I mean, I'm sure with Cleopatra, things are going just fine.
Right.
Well, smooth sailing over there.
Yeah.
Well, filmmaking is a hard business, and everything doesn't always run 100% smoothly. The people behind the second Doctor Strange movie are allegedly learning that. It just depends on like kind of what angle you believe. They said on Friday that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that's a lot to say, is undergoing 6 weeks of reshoots at 6 days a week. So that will take them until until the end of the year. So usually when you hear someone like a movie's doing reshoots, it's not a good sign. It's usually a sign that like something's not working.
It's funny that they're saying that they're going to be filming 6 days a week. Like that's out of the norm. Like 6 days a week is normal. If anything, it's under the normal.
Right.
I thought that what they were insinuating in that article was that they just got a lot to do.
I just think it's funny. They're like, these people are going to be working 6 days a week, 12-hour days. Like that's a normal set. That's a completely normal set. I just need that to be known.
Is it normal for reshoots though? Like to go that long? I mean, you can make a whole movie in 6 weeks, like a whole new movie, not a Marvel movie, but like you can make like a whole new movie at 6 days.
Yeah.
Do you think there was rewrites?
So they're trying to say that they're saying that everyone's happy with the story. That's
what our reshooting. All
the actors are happy to go back and do this. They were trying to say that something.
Are they reshooting an actor out of it?
No, they're like they mentioned Benedict Cumberbatch he's involved in all 6 weeks of shooting. So he is involved in all of it. They won't say what other actors are involved in the reshoots, but a lot of it's going to be taking place in Los Angeles. They did say it could be because some of the COVID delays that they didn't get to film some of the stuff that they really wanted to film. But then another person on that was saying like they don't think that's the case and that 6 weeks is a really long time for reshoots. And then other people they talked to said that this is normal for Marvel. It just doesn't get announced.
Publicized.
I agree with that.
But
I think this is very normal.
I guess the length and number of days is what kind of got people. And then some people thought it was weird that news came out after like Eternals got such a divisive reception. And
they thought that maybe
like Marvel was like looking at this script and this story being like,
they were like, oh shit, we got to go back and change.
It's gonna get too confusing. Like, what do we need to fix? Like, they're saying that that's not the case, but like those are extensive reshoots. I mean, it's normal for movies to do it. But
they haven't even come out with a trailer for that one yet. So obviously that there's got to be like, it just seems like there's still a lot of work to do on that one.
Yeah, there's a lot to do, and like it's a huge storyline. It's a big multiverse storyline that they're kind of already hinting at. They're going to be hinting at it in Spider-Man next month, and like it kind of gets even bigger in that movie. So I guess the script could be very confusing, and they don't want that to be confusing for the audience, which is why some people thought like, is it story related? If it's story related, then people are worried. If it's not story related and it's just like, we're doing COVID pickups because we couldn't shoot some of this stuff during the lockdowns and during all the delays, then maybe that's it. But it does seem like a lot. Like Marvel doesn't really have this happen where it's public. Like you'll hear about like DC reshoots all the time, but like Marvel doesn't really get that.
What's your experience with reshoots, Brittany? Like how have you been through a lot? Is it, I know you said that it's pretty normal, but what's kind of like the rundown? Like I'm interested to see like when someone mentions the word reshoot, does the whole sort of team and set crew just go, oh gosh, okay? Or is it more of a, yep, this is a normal thing, like just kind of the last bit of production? I'm just interested in that kind of sense.
Yeah, so reshoots are already planned ahead. When you make the production schedule, you already have the days booked out in advance for reshoots because you know that they're going to come up. Reshoots are when you're in the moment and with the script supervisor and something happens where like maybe a coffee cup was in the left hand and then it's supposed to be in the right. With little things like that, they will reshoot just for continuity. But then they always say to these actors that have to like grow a mustache or do something like keep your mustache for reshoots or something like that, just for continuity. In the past, I have worked with an actor who did buzz off his mustache and it was like the worst. It was like so bad. Like
all hell
he had to use like a fake one and it would just look so bad. You can actually tell, and I don't have any examples offhand, but there have been reshoots of movies where like someone's had to wear a wig because they're already prepping for another role and they've already done something different to their hair or whatever. So that makes it a little bit complicated.
Yeah,
like Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta, she shaved her head. She maybe had to wear a wig for something, or for reshoots or something maybe.
Yeah, but reshoots are already planned out usually with the schedule. So that's why I'm curious if they already had booked out 6 weeks and they might not use all 6 weeks to reshoot. So it just depends.
I guess the biggest culprit of the reshoot that I remember, most recent one is, so Henry Cavill does Justice League, and then he goes to do Mission Impossible, and he had a mustache, and he had to come back to do reshoots on Justice League while he was still doing Mission Impossible. So he's like, I can't shave it. So they had to CGI it off.
They had to CGI his mustache off.
Shots that like his lip looks fucking weird because like you could tell it's just like a computer did it.
Just blank.
And like
that's so funny.
Yeah, like,
I don't think I noticed that.
So like you can watch certain scenes in Justice League, more so the not good cut, not the Snyder cut. Like you'll see like if you pay attention to his like upper lip, you're like, oh, that's pretty obvious that they. Did
you only see that after you were looking for it, or did you kind of did you notice
his face looked weird? And then that was all the confirmation I needed once I heard.
Yeah,
like, Henry Cavill doesn't have a weird face, right?
Definitely
like, not a weird face at all.
It is not.
But like, yeah, they had to like. You're like, well, I can't get rid of it because I'm still shooting a better movie, so I'm not gonna shave it off.
A better movie.
So
that was a good one.
But but yeah, in the spirit of like talking about Marvel, I guess we can segue into Disney because they had their big Disney Plus day on Friday, which wasn't totally worth it.
You were
I had to
disappointed.
work it virtually for like 3 hours.
Oof.
And,
And you were disappointed.
yeah, because I thought there'd be more like big trailers and big reveals. Like to me, like showing me a title card and then saying that it's coming soon, I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit.
I think a lot of the stuff that they announced though was like already public knowledge. Like we already knew there was going to be an Enchanted too.
Exactly.
They've already finished filming it. So there was already pictures released of oh my gosh,
Adams.
I'm Amy Adams. I'm blanking on everyone's name today. It's been a long day.
Yeah,
they already had pictures of her in costume and her around New York. Like this is old news. All of the stuff that they announced was like old news.
Yeah, it was like I couldn't get excited for like I even recall hearing about some of these things like when they did this last year. Because like they have that like kind of like that Groot series that they're gonna do. I feel like they announced that animated series last year. A while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like we already knew about Secret Invasion because they already talked about it like a while ago. And not giving us like a firm date, like coming soon is not exciting.
And also something like Loki season 2, that's not a reveal.
And like what if is getting
these I mean, I worked for Disney Plus for a little bit, and these calendars for Disney Plus when I worked there before Disney Plus was even a thing yet, these calendars are released like 5 to 6 years in advance, like how the Olympics are already like booked out. Like they already have all of these dates on a calendar, whether it says like July 2023 or whatever. These are already like pretty concrete dates for these films that are coming out, whether it's Toy Story or a Marvel movie or whatever. These are already done. You can look them up on Reddit. I'm sure there's someone who has posted them.
Here's what I thought was weird though. Like maybe it's just fan expectation. There was like considerable hype. Like they were talking about Obi-Wan all week, and there was an indication that we were going to get a trailer. Maybe it was our fault for like assuming things. But like that was the vibe that they were throwing out there. And what they gave us was like a sizzle reel with like some concept art and a little interview with Ewan McGregor about being excited about working with Hayden Christensen again. And then they kind of showed a little bit of footage of Hayden Christensen doing like lightsaber training, and then that was it. And I was like,
where's he been lately?
Waiting to get cast in this.
Yeah, waiting in his armchair.
Waiting in his armchair. But no, like so I was expecting more. It's the same thing with like how they released the trailers for like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. Initially, they ran it as like a 15-minute preview that you could only get if you went on the Disney Plus app. So they didn't release them online until way later. And they didn't even officially release them. Like other sites basically grabbed the videos and put them on their sites. Like we didn't think we want to get in trouble. We thought we were going to get in trouble from Disney Plus, so we did. We kind of
don't sue us.
Disney is scary.
They will sue you. They will sue you.
They're scary, and we still want to get like free.
Walt Disney himself is gonna come up out of his frozen cellar and get you.
Yo, he's definitely alive somewhere right now.
I guess like it kind of shows like the power of Disney. Like,
is that a segue to Mel Gibson?
You know, they could have like their own little day, and like they can have their own day, and they can kind of have this thing that like people pay attention to, and they have this whole monopoly on the market that no other studio really has. The fact that they can have like their own Disney animation stuff and Pixar and Marvel, and they can also remake their own IPs and just have like this whole monopoly to themselves.
It's literally just vertical integration in its purest form. They're like, all right, so we created the story in 1940. We're gonna make 9 movies about it.
Like, and like, I'm not saying it doesn't. Like, people do like it. Some people do like the live action remakes they've done. Like, I didn't mind Beauty and the Beast. I actually didn't mind Aladdin. My expectations were like that low for Aladdin, but like it turned out all right. And
I mean, how can you follow Robin Williams? That's an impossible task.
Right.
There's absolutely no way you could do that. I think that they just hyped up this Disney Plus day. They're like, we're gonna release some things, and they made it a way bigger deal just to get some hype, I think. And like you said, I mean, I watched a sort of small YouTube clip about it, and I think it was just to give them some clickbait and like some art to put on their websites.
People will share on Twitter. Like, I mean, they were getting like, I was like on Twitter all morning for that. and they were getting so many retweets of all their stuff, like everything that they put out there, even if it was just a title card. Like I guess that excites some people, and like in coming soon, not even a definitive date, just like a eventually.
Yeah.
Like not
Anakin
even,
Skywalker swinging a lightsaber.
it's like crazy. Like the fact that the thing I got most excited for was that they're doing a revival of the X-Men animated series. Like that was the big thing I got from that day. That should say something about what the day was supposed to be and what it turned out to be, at least for me. Like they just don't. I mean, but I guess they know their audience. They know that even if I hadn't to do it for work, I think I would have at least tried to like see what was going on. I probably wouldn't sat down for 3 hours waiting for some kind of trailers to drop that didn't drop.
Yeah.
But they had everyone's attention on it. Like everyone was online just waiting for something. But Variety actually wrote something about how disappointing the day was. So like the big trade writes about like, you kind of built
Disney is just disappointing. I've
Yeah.
never been as broke as I was living in LA as when I was working for Disney.
Yeah, it's not like they are a multi-billion-dollar company that could pay their employees better.
No, not at all.
I mean, but
that's all I'm gonna say about that.
yeah, maybe I'm gonna get sued by Disney now.
They're always listening.
My NDAs are open.
Yeah, they're actually in this chat right now. I just got a text. No, I think that the live remakes are the ones where I started to think that things weren't as good. I mean, I loved stuff like Moana, where it's just a new creative idea. I thought that was a great movie. I'm excited to see Encanto. I haven't seen that yet, but it's from the same creators as that. It's a whole new story. That's why I like Disney, and that's why I grew up loving Disney. Is just, hey, here's a new idea. They are not uncreative. They only hire creative people. I mean, that's what Walt Disney was all about. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, exactly. This is actually Brittany's using this for her job interview. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that they only hire creative people.
Exactly. No, but
myself.
Yeah. But I just think that having them just remake, because I was actually looking at all the new ones that they're going to be coming out, the live action, they're all TBD, but Sword in the Stone, they have like Snow White's sister Rose or something, and like there's all of these random stories that
they're all like cash grabs. Like everything about them, they're all cash grabs. So like they're familiar to people that grew up with the animated movies, right?
Yeah.
And people are going to see them based on that. Like I mean, I think like even coming up next, there's like the Little Mermaid. They're doing Snow White. They already cast Gal Gadot as like the evil queen.
That's a good cast.
Which actually will be pretty good. She can probably give off some like Maleficent vibes if she does it right.
I'm telling you, she's Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, she's
following her lead.
But yeah, there's so many coming down. Like they're even making a prequel to the live action Lion King, and Barry Jenkins is doing it. Like he directed Moonlight. Like this is a guy who should be putting.
I'm a really big Barry Jenkins fan.
Yeah, I just feel like he should be putting his energy into something. I mean, it might be creative for him. I don't want to take that away from him, but like it just seems a weird project to jump on. Like, do we need a prequel to the live action Lion King?
No, we don't. We didn't even need the live action one.
No, it's like the same movie, but just like,
And could you even call it live action? It's just like these actors crawling around on all fours.
They called it,
I liked it a lot.
They called it photorealistic when everyone was getting mad about them saying it was live action. They called it.
Yeah, because Jungle Book.
I'm just glad someone else is doing it besides Jon Favreau.
Yeah, we all know. We all know how you feel about Mr. Favreau.
No, I think he's great. There's more opportunities for more people. I think that he doesn't have to do every live action Disney movie. He did Jungle Book. He's been around the block. Give someone else a chance.
Totally agree. And Gaz, I agree with you too.
I just think Barry Jenkins can use his creative flow for.
Yeah, I totally agree.
He's probably doing other things too. He's got stuff going on.
Would you want Mel Gibson to direct a Disney movie?
I don't think that's what the children want.
The children might not want it, but he is apparently.
I don't think the adults want it either.
As of today, it looks like he's directing Lethal Weapon 5. Not that we're asking for Lethal Weapon 5.
I think he confirmed it.
Yeah, he basically confirmed it. So Richard Donner, who passed away in July, he directed the first 4. He was already prepping a 5th one. Richard Donner was well into his like 90s when he was trying to do this movie, and then he passed.
You're saying Mel Gibson is just taking his work and putting his name on it?
No. What I read was that Richard Donner, I guess, told him, according to Mel Gibson, Richard Donner.
His final words were, "Mel Gibson, you have to direct this movie."
I don't know if it was like a deathbed.
No, his last words were, "Don't plagiarize this."
I don't know if he like was laying there and it was like, "You have to please," like for you to like,
please give me Mel.
But according to Mel Gibson, he said that Richard told him if he were to pass away, because I think he knew he was getting older. He probably knew
he's
he
been
was
known to be truthful.
He was like, if anyone should direct it, it should be you. And that's what Mel Gibson is honoring his friend's wishes. They've been trying to make Lethal Weapon 5 for a while. I think they're all too old to do it. Yeah, I can't see Danny Glover doing it. He's 75.
He is literally too old for this shit.
He's too old for this shit, literally.
Literally.
But people feel a certain type of way about Mel Gibson being still working.
I just like need to say this really quick. I don't really like cancel culture, and I don't think that Mel Gibson should necessarily be canceled, but I am confused why people still want to work with him.
It's like one of those things in Hollywood too, right? I think so. He made a lot of anti-Semitic remarks, like also racial remarks against like African Americans, and like he degraded women pretty badly, amongst other things.
He used the term oven dodger.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of bad things, right? But like,
not really a good dude.
He was caught on tape at one point saying, "You go out in public and it's a fucking embarrassment to me," to his girlfriend. "You look like a fucking bitch on Heat. If you get raped by a pack of N-words, it will be your fault."
Oh,
and that was caught on tape.
That was caught. That's
a real quote.
Anyone else will not be able.
That's
to
not a he said she said quote. That's a legit quote that
you can actually go on YouTube and probably listen to it.
Mm-hmm. I just came with receipts for that. I just needed that to be
heard. Oh my god, I did not know it was that bad.
Hollywood, especially, like,
that's not even the worst one.
I mean, he's crazy. He's documented, absolutely psychotic.
Well, like what happens in Hollywood though is that like everyone likes they will tear you down, right? And he did get torn down for a while, but everyone likes a redemption story in Hollywood too. So all you have to do is make one good movie, and then
there's so many Jews in Hollywood though. It's so confusing that he's still allowed to work in these.
So I remember when he made Hacksaw Ridge and they got nominated for all those Oscars. He got nominated for Best Director, and this was after all that. It was almost like they were like a pat in the back, like, "We forgive you, Mel." Like,
you know what I like is that Ricky Gervais.
I saw that actually.
Ricky Gervais. I did like Hacksaw Ridge. I thought it was a good story.
I thought it was good.
But I still love how out of everybody, Ricky Gervais refuses to let Mel Gibson go.
Me and Ricky Gervais.
At every single Golden Globes, he's just like, I think my favorite one was it's like, everyone knows that I like to enjoy beer as much as the next guy. Next guy, Mel Gibson or something.
Yeah, that's when he introduced him, right? Mel Gibson had to like walk out on stage, like,
and then he tried to diss Ricky, and everyone's like, "Oh,
yeah." Like, I don't know, like, it's interesting how that kind of works. I don't like cancel culture either. I think that I'm not even defending what he did or said. Like, I guess the underlying
tread lightly, Gaius.
I am treading lightly. I think the underlying thing with like what they were trying to do with him, like they were trying to say that he was drunk during all those things. He was an alcoholic. He had a problem. He got help for said problem. That's not really how he feels. Blah blah blah. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that's where they kind of like they're like, yeah, he said these things. He was drunk. He has issues. He can redeem himself.
I just don't understand how someone like Louis C.K. is canceled for what he did, and I'm not trying to defend Louis C.K. either, but Louis C.K., what has he been up to? He is like still canceled.
Well, he got canceled from Life of Pets too, because they basically, or they might have, like, Patton Oswalt took over because they were like, "We were not working with you again."
And it's a different type of cancel, and I get it. But like, I think that I think Mel Gibson missed the deadline on cancel culture. I think what he did was so early on that it was before cancel culture was popular, or a thing. And I think same way with Chris Brown. They both fell through the cracks of cancel culture, and they're both still able to still have stable careers. And that's fine. I'm just refusing to be a part of it.
I think the cancel culture thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it kind of ignited itself more so when like the Me Too movement started. I
Agreed.
think that kind of became like the start of it. And like for those people that came before it, like people like Mel Gibson or Chris Brown, like it became easier to navigate. Like, how do I begin my redemption tour? Basically, like how do I
Mhm.
get people to like, no, this is not who I am. With Mel Gibson, I don't know if he did anything in particular to like apologize or like kind of like
I
make
think
up for
wasn't he
what he
just
did.
gone for a while?
He
He
just kind
was
of
kind of
disappeared for a little bit, and then
yeah.
he made Hacksaw Ridge, and they were like, he was like, "Hey, remember, I'm still a talented director," and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, remember, like you are a talented director," and then like they kind of threw their arms around him again. Now, to be
Mhm.
fair, he hasn't done like a ton of mainstream movies. I mean, I don't know if that's by choice. I know he was in Daddy's Home 2 and all that, but like he's definitely not on in the league he was at the height of his popularity.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of changed. Now he,
We were supposed to watch I was assigned to Patriot in film school, and I told my teacher that I would watch anything but that.
Yeah.
it makes sense. Like what he did was
I
It's
can't
messed
look at
up.
him without wanting to punch him
you can't
straight in the
unhear the things
face.
that he said. You can't unhear it, and I can't imagine even if I didn't like, if I didn't care one way or the other, like as an actor working on set with him, it would be in the back of my mind. I think a little bit.
At all times.
If I was sharing scenes with him, I'd be like, remember that one time you said that one thing? Like,
I would definitely be wearing my Star of David necklace every day to set.
it's true though. Like I mean, like, but he got through it, and like he just got cast on like the John Wick spinoff show too. Like he's one of the leads.
I just
I
think
mean,
it's shooting him in the foot by casting him in anything or having him be a part of anything. I don't think that a lot of people are interested in him anymore. Maybe that's just my opinion, or as a Jewish person, but I think that it's shooting yourself in the foot by casting him in something.
Unfortunately, I disagree. I think as much as I would love to not see him in movies, I think that there is a mainstream draw to that name, and he's had such a successful career in the past that he is kind of a household name that people like the stuff that he did afterwards. I guess people are like, oh, he kind of redeemed himself. And I think that even though he didn't deserve a redemption, he will bring people into the theater. And I mean, I thought it was funny in Daddy's Home too. I I'm probably I would probably watch something for free with him, but I would like that has him in it, but I probably wouldn't go pay to necessarily go see something nowadays.
yeah, and it's also like how do we decide who stays canceled and for how long? Like I look at someone like Shia LaBeouf, for example, like
Mhm.
who like he didn't deny that like he abused his ex-girlfriend. Like when she put it out there that she was suing him for it, he immediately was like, I'm gonna go get help. I still have issues. Like he grew up really messed up, and that's pretty well documented, right? And
Mhm.
Honey boy.
he seems very much aware of like I need to get help. And is that the difference? If you're kind of self-aware of like I need to fix this, like would you
I
be
think it is.
coming back and like being in something?
And I think Mel Gibson has come out and kind of apologized in a very half-assed way for his comments that he made. But I do think that if he got the help that he needed to just understand and learn about Jewish people and not calling people oven dodgers or whatever he was calling people, telling a girl to get raped, like that kind of stuff blows my mind that men get away with. I'm trying to think of a woman in comparison that has been canceled, like Chrissy Teigen, I guess. People were trying to cancel Chrissy Teigen.
Yeah.
Roseanne
But
got canceled fast.
Roseanne's a good example.
Roseanne got
She
canceled,
lost her show.
and but Roseanne didn't say things nearly as bad as Mel Gibson,
And
and she was
probably and
canceled.
she hasn't been employed since.
Hmm.
No, and
I mean, her things were bad too, but
cancellation was swift and immediate. Like the next day, they were like, "Okay, your show is done."
that's what
And
I'm
then now
saying.
you're the Connors.
I think if Mel Gibson came out tomorrow and said a comment about Jews again, I think he would be canceled immediately.
Agreed.
I think that people have just like forgotten.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Gaius brings up a good point, and so do you, Brittany. I think that like if you repeat those actions, but then you're going to get canceled in today's culture. I think that they did something in the past, and people have said, "Okay, you've changed. or they've done something enough to, hey, like now I'm not this person anymore, but I can be better, and I'll show you by making Hacksaw Ridge nominated.
Yeah, I mean, like they love a good comeback story, man. Like Hollywood's like that. They'll tear you down, and then like when you have an opportunity to bring yourself back up, they welcome you back with open arms, and that's what he kind of did. I think it kind of helped with him that he did it behind the camera first. That he didn't try to like be in a movie up front, like Hacksaw Ridge. It's he directed it, but you have Andrew Garfield at the forefront, like he's promoting it. Like, like I just happen to be the guy behind the camera, and then of course he got nominated for best director and stuff, and he didn't win. But I think it was that movie that kind of, they were like, oh, like we can forgive him for like the things that he's said and done. I don't think everyone feels that way in Hollywood. I can't pinpoint the exact actors or actresses who wouldn't work with him again, but I think there are
probably a lot.
I can't wait for Harvey Weinstein's comeback story.
No, I don't think.
Oh gosh, yeah, you're not. I mean, you're not wrong.
He's real canceled.
Yeah,
isn't he in jail?
He's in jail. He's not getting out. He'll die there.
Yeah,
rightfully so though, because he's a dirty.
He's a prick. He's an absolute prick.
But I think there are certain people in Hollywood that can get away with things more than others. I think it also depends who your friends are. Like, Hollywood is very much who you know, not what you know. So Mel Gibson has a lot of friends in the industry that are going to help him out.
Right. I remember someone tried to compare it to Robert Downey Jr. and I was like, no, the difference between those two is that Mel Gibson said very offensive things about other people that were very, like, you can't come back from that usually. Robert Downey Jr., what he was doing to himself. Like, he was like addicted to drugs and all that other stuff. Like, that was something that he was doing to himself personally. And like, and he got
Johnny Depp too. Like Johnny Depp is like wasn't he in trial for abusing his then wife?
I can quickly.
Well, no, that was Amber Heard, and I thought that it was the other way around. She was abusing him.
So like, I'm gonna piggyback on Owen. So it started out where he was trying to do that whole libel case in the UK where they basically put on the magazine cover that he was an abuser. Now he lost that, so it made it seem like, well, she was right in what she said, and she had all this evidence where like it seemed like he was the one that was
like shit the bed or something.
Yeah, but then he released. There were some tapes that got released where she was clearly like the aggressor,
screaming at him and throwing things at him. Like she threw like a,
and like like she really talked about how like she hit him first, and this. So if anything, it was like a volatile relationship both ways. It just like wasn't just him. And I think he's come out against cancel culture hard because he's going through it now. I mean, he lost a job because of it. Like that one was like a little bit, that wasn't all black and white for me because I always thought that like she there was a lot more going on there than him just,
Well, she got canceled from the second Aquaman movie because of that.
They wanted.
There's definitely he said, she said of that situation. There's 3 sides to every story, and that one has clearly a third story that needs to be told.
All right, I kind of want to end this on like a funny, happier note. Even though we shouldn't care about what people look like, and we should be hung up on people's looks. But the homie Paul Rudd was named People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive for 2021.
Oh boy, Paul.
And apparently this was rumored to go to Chris Evans, and they went the other Marvel route and they chose Ant-Man instead. But I'm all for it.
I am so 100% in
because Paul Rudd is clearly a vampire because he hasn't aged since like 19.
He has not aged. It's so insane.
It's weird. Crazy. Like, the side-by-side pictures that they have of him from like 95, like 2021, like him and J-Lo must be drinking from the same like fountain of youth.
Yeah, he looks the same as he did when he was in Knocked Up.
Yeah, or even go back to Clueless. Like he looks like he still hasn't
I mean, who didn't have a crush on that little Paul Rudd in Clueless?
I mean, I have a man crush on Paul Rudd. I'll admit it right now.
Yeah, everyone does. I think he's the most loved actor, or not most of all time, but I don't know a single person that doesn't like Paul Rudd.
People talk very highly about him, even as a person.
Yeah, like he's
on set.
I think that's what made it kind of funny for a lot of people. Like everyone jokingly says, like, "Oh, he's like so good looking because he hasn't like aged at all." But I think that he just has a reputation of being a very nice person. He's not on social.
Kindness is sexy.
He's not on social media. He's not like one of those people that seeks attention. He said, like in the article on People Magazine, he said he only really cares about like his wife and his 2 kids. Like that's what he's all about, and then like the work, and like that's all he really wants to
Yeah.
focus on.
I think it's great because he isn't necessarily Hollywood's traditional like archetype of the sexiest man alive, but he also isn't. He is a good-looking dude.
Yeah,
So
he's
it's like,
well.
yeah, I think that, and the fact that he's a comedian, he's been in a lot of comedies, he's just well loved. I think that all of that encompassed, they were just in all Chris Evans, and kind of like I wonder if they sort of planned something to maybe kind of prank him a little bit, but also give him some props.
Props. Yeah, it's funny too because I was watching TMZ when they announced this, and one of the guys in the office was like, "Yeah, I guess he's good looking," but asked the girls like, if he walked up to you in the bar, would you be like, "All right, I'm into that," or would you pay any attention to him at all if he wasn't Paul Rudd?
I would be charmed by him. I think he's charming.
She would be charmed. She wouldn't.
I think he's very charming. I think he has like I think he would make me laugh immediately if he walked up to me at a bar and started a conversation. And I think funny is sexy.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That makes sense.
There you go.
So you'd be charmed by him, but would you want to know more about him, or would you be like, I can just talk to you for a little bit and then that'd be it?
No, I'd go home with him.
I think it's all subjective. It's all subjective.
You would go home with him. That's a good. I like that hot take.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would go home with him too.
I would not take him back to the Blockbuster.
Because you'd be busy with Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Oh, there's no coming back from that. Oh, I don't even know what to say after that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We learned that you wouldn't come back because you'd be busy with Paul Rudd. We also learned that I would go home with Paul Rudd if give him the opportunity. Owen,
yeah, I think you would.
Dude, you know what? If he wants to come home, I'm in.
You can say that you got it in with Ant-Man. That's great. Oh man. Well, this is.
I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah. No, this has been. I'm glad we ended
it on like.
Glad we ended with Paul Rudd.
We would like all be willing to just take Paul Rudd home.
Yeah, Paul, you're back to the Blockbuster approved.
Yeah, you are. Paul Rudd, you're officially back to the Blockbuster approved. Our very first
approval is Paul Rudd.
I thought it'd be Blake Lively, but no.
He's
Paul
so cute.
All right, guys. Well, this has been fun. Another really fun and exciting episode. Ghostbusters comes out this week. I think
Paul Rudd.
I think it'd be I was thinking about it'd be really cool to kind of next week if we could kind of like dive into the three other films if we kind of the first film, the second one, and the also hated female remake, which is not so bad. Go down. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to kind of dive into those. I would watch all three, or we can just pick one. I don't want to just give Brittany the girl one because she's a girl. But I kind of want to revisit it too because I haven't watched it since it came out. I
haven't watched the original. No, in like a really long time. I need to rewatch it. I've seen the original.
Ours has been
Harold Ramis is from St. Louis.
Nice. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to kind of revisit that franchise next week.
Yeah, I will definitely put that on the TV this weekend.
Yeah, because I feel like the new one, even though there's some buzz, it seems kind of muted right now. It seemed like there was a lot of hype, but then now there's not as much. But we'll see. And it has a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It's a hair higher than the female remake.
Really?
Probably makes more boys triggered and upset.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really. Seen a few trailers for it. It looks like it keeps in with the traditional sort of their version of the ghosts and what they look like. They're obviously bringing back the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. Well, we'll be diving to that next week. And then also, as a reminder, we are a Playlist Studio original. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and various other platforms where you listen to your podcasts for your listening pleasure. And we will be seeing you guys next week.
Awesome. And guys, you can check us out on YouTube as well. I think they come out just a few days after they come out on Playlist. So if you want to see our faces and laugh along with us, then please do check us out on YouTube. It's Back to the Blockbuster.
My dog's in it.
Yeah.
Is your dog in all of them? Oh wait, no, just this one.
No, just this one.
Just this one.
I want a review of Clifford the Big Red Dog the next time we come on.
Yeah, I wanna play by play.
If we have to make up a video where I just put dialogue under her barks, I will do it.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.